Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the new moon in Sagittarius taking place on December 1st at 1:21 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This will be the lunar update for the divine counterpart Twin Flame Soulmate Collective. A few quick announcements before we begin. The December calendar for readings is almost sold out. If you know you want to meet with me before we close out the year, definitely book. There are times available on Friday. Not this coming Friday because of the American Thanksgiving holiday, but the following. I think there's one 30-minute session left. There's also 1 hour sessions left, Friday the 13th and Friday the 20th. There's also a few Tuesday sessions available if you would like to talk maybe on a Tuesday evening. I did open up some Tuesday evening sessions for folks who feel like they need to talk on this side of the year. I do have some holiday sales coming up. They are on Fridays. Thank you to everyone who signed up for the parent-child 30% off. I'm excited to talk with you about your child and you and how you can have a more harmonious relationship. Friday the 29th, that is this Friday of this particular new moon, there will be a 1 hour personal reading available for 30% off. December 6th, there will be couples reading. That's the 90-minute 30% off for two people who are coming together, talk about their chart, talk about where they're headed in 2025, or any challenges where you'd like to either understand one another better or get on the same page. December 13th, there will be 1 hour off the 60-minute twin flame reading, and that is for one person who is coming and wants to look at their chart, their person's chart, the chart of the union, which is the day the two of you met, get a sense of where things are at, where they're headed, what your choices and options are. And December 20th, there will be 30% off the parent and two children reading. You can also use that if you'd like to look at your chart, the other parent's chart, and your child. You can use the reading that way as well. That is a 90-minute session. We'll be looking at all three charts. Well, you're the only person that needs to attend. You don't have to bring your child or anything like that to the parent-child readings. But yeah, if you want 30% off, subscribe, hit the notification bell. These sale days are from midnight to midnight, Friday to Saturday Eastern time. If you want a head start so you have best access and choice in my calendar availability, then get on the private list. The link to do that is below the video. And private listers get access to the savings code 24 hours in advance. So they get the best pick in terms of availability on my calendar. Last announcement, on Thursday, December 6th, I will be live here on YouTube, revealing the major transits of 2025 in money and love to mark your calendar for. So if you like live events, you want to come kick it, I can't wait to chat with you then. I'll be joined by Star Club members and we'll be having a little chat about what to expect. Let's go into this new moon in Sagittarius for the divine counterparts. Here's our new moon, the 9th degree of Sagittarius. We have a loose opposition to Jupiter, whom I read as the divine masculine energy. We've also got a square to Saturn, who is also conjunct Nessus there in Pisces. We see a loose trine to Chiron here in Aries, and we also see a trine to Mars for this new moon. Overall, this new moon marks a period of review in many cases because of the linked Mars and Mercury retrogrades that are unfolding at this lunation. I spoke at length about how to use the energy of tension for leverage in your life because there is a lot of tension in this energy, a lot of power struggle energy, and a lot of opportunity for avoidance. But there's also a lot of opportunity for creativity, intuition, as well as cleaning up communication in ways that are very empowering and bring people closer together. I talked about all of that in the Lightworker Energy Update. So what I would recommend if you're new here, have a listen to that. Come on back to this for the divine counterpart part. This really operates as a part two to that part one. Because I'm really going to go deep into just what the divine counterparts are doing and what that may mean for your connection, whether you're in separation, considering yourself in some form of separation, or consider yourself in some format of union. Let's go ahead and talk about what the divine counterparts are doing. I did provide also in that lunar update for light workers dates to pay attention to for the Mars and Mercury retrograde. Okay, let's see. Here we have Juno in Scorpio. She is the wife of Jupiter. So I read her as the divine feminine energy. She is settled in for a nice long stay in Scorpio. She's going to be here through November because she's doing a retrograde here in Scorpio. In retrograde in Scorpio, what we are already seeing is scorpionic themes begin to show themselves in our divine feminine energetic fields. Themes having to do with power, sex, other people's money, such as taxes, loans, mortgages, lottery winnings, inheritances, windfalls of that nature. Endings, that's another Scorpio topic there. And all of the emotions that are part of the scorpionic process, such as shame, fear, rage, right? All the things that show themselves that we have some power that we're not utilizing, that we've left out on the table, and it's time for us to pick it up, those emotions. Because she is conjunct Haumea in Scorpio, this is going to be a kind of a key theme. She's already passed her up, but this is part of a key theme of the retrograde cycle. And it's a signal that the point of the cycle for Juno retrograde in Scorpio is going to be resurrection. It's going to be rebirth. The point of the cycle is going to be all about beginning again. Anytime we see, like in the tarot, the death card, you will find most readers really want to just focus in on the resurrection part. They want to talk about the rebirth part. And I bring that card into the mix because I know a lot of you listen to or watch tarot. I also know that from a symbol perspective, that card in the major arcana is related to the sign of Scorpio. People really want to focus on the rebirth part. We cannot access the rebirth or the resurrection without the ending and the closing and the death part first. And so as she is settling into Scorpio in the collective divine feminine energetic fields, we will be walking through some format of closure, completion, ending, death energy. Okay. So I've already kind of plotted this out. These will be part of the channeled messages because I've spent some time really leaning into and talking to my team, like, how's this going to play out for the collective next year? So I've got some channeled messages for you guys about this. They're coming. But for now, I'm bringing this up because some of you are already starting to see this show itself, where there is this energy of recognizing, okay, something's got to change, something's got to end so that something else can live when it comes to my divine connection. Now, this doesn't mean, oh, we have to break up and it's the end of our relationship and my divine counterpart's going away. No, right? Like, hold your horses. For many, this could be as simple as I am ending my communication style and the way I have handled speaking, thinking, texting, messaging, emailing, talking to my person. For others of you, this could be the ending of a way you handle family dynamics with your in-laws. Like, I refuse to any longer fight with my counterpart's mother and father. It is what it is. We don't see eye to eye, but I refuse to engage any longer. The self-victimization in it, I'm done with that story. I'm moving on. I have to do a new thing, right? Endings and closures are not all bad things, right? And this doesn't constitute some sort of ending of connection. This really, for many, is going to be an ending of the way you engage in and handle the connection. Okay. And again, the purpose of all of it, there's a strong theme of resurrection here, of Phoenix rising from the ashes. Phoenix has to burn up first. It cannot exist in the current format. So like expect that whatever the current configuration of theme is that has to close out, that configuration will exist no more in the new place. Okay. The new place will look very different in one way or another. So in that regard, it's exciting. But I also understand that, for many, this is confronting energy, especially because we also see that it's loose, but she's got a square to Scorpio's ruling planet, and that's Pluto. And so she's already been having this conversation, and you may or even already have like a glimpse without even looking at your chart. You may have some glimpse into, okay, yeah, I already know what Kay's talking about. I know what I have to shift in my connection. Male or female, right? Because we all have interior divine masculine and feminine energy, right? But there's a real recognition of like, yeah, the place I have been in, got to get to a different place. I got to leave this behind because this isn't working. It's dead. There's death here. There's nothing here but destruction if I stay here. I have to go to the next place where there is life. Okay. We see as well, so that Plutonian energy is just amplifying the theme for her as she progresses into the full shadow before she goes retrograde next year in the spring. This is allowing us to see where there's something ready to be reborn in the divine, through the divine feminine energy fields. There's a semi-sextile to this new moon. And this is going to signal that she's walking into a process of valuing truth above all other things. Learning, faith, hope, optimism, eyes on the end game here. There's a real signal in the divine feminine energy, like, okay, eyes on the target. I know where I'm headed. I may not know how to get there, but I know staying here isn't going to get me there. And so there's some sort of revelation in the divine feminine energy fields as we hit this new moon in Sagittarius about the direction of where she wants to go in connection. We do see a sextile to Pholus in Capricorn there, or from Pholus in Capricorn. This is going to make it easy to have some awareness of what's not serving with Pholus in this position. It's going to be very easy to see, yeah, this is undermining me. However, this position, the sextile, is also going to make it easy to stay complacent and settle in, even though it's not serving you. When she gets in opposition to Uranus, so here's Uranus, she's not yet in opposition, but she will be. So if you've got, again, I spoke last lunation specifically to folks who like are in triangulated situations. Let's just say your person is like got two people and you're on one side and somebody else is on the other side. When Juno gets opposite Uranus, I'm gonna give you dates for that in a second. Hang on. That is when, what if we've settled into some sort of, yeah, I can make it work to be split, head over here, heart over there, and everyone should just be okay with that. when Juno locks in with Uranus, which will begin around the last week of December and then extend through the first 5 months of the new year. It's a long conversation. That complacency is likely to very abruptly change and uncomfortably so. It'll be important to remember Uranus is always acting for our betterment, even if the disruption is a challenge to experience initially. It comes with all of those shadow emotion energies, shame, fear, rage, right? This sort of thing is meant to shake us loose from places where we have been complacent with things that undermine us. And so know that, like, if you're like waiting in a triangle, there is a shakeup coming. And it's an extended period of shakeup. It's like 5, 6 months of shakeup energy. Not only that, but you will also find that if you are the person who's like in said kind of triangulated energy and like trying to make it work to be a split individual, the first 5 months of 2025 are going to be very uncomfortable to do that. And so what they're trying, and I've seen this, and this is part of the channeled messages that I'm going to share with you guys for 2025 for divine counterparts. There is this pushing into the third dimension from the fifth dimension of connections of this nature. They don't want to rest or stay in some sort of fifth dimensional union state. They're really trying to come into our lived reality. But in order for that to happen, our participation is required. I wish I could say there was like, like the process of birthing is like what we're all taught as children. Like the stork brings the baby, and you see the stork just like flying through the sky with your union and dropping it off at your door. But anyone who's ever given birth knows that like labor is uncomfortable. Giving birth it's not the same as what you do to get pregnant. It doesn't feel the same. It's a contrasting feeling, but what's on the other side is this beautiful being that lives in your life and is alive, and it's like the divine come through you to be a part of your world. So thank you, Juno and Scorpio retrograde. This is a huge piece, and her speaking with Uranus, the original divine counterpart to Gaia, right? There is something trying to get birthed through this Juno retrograde process, through the divine feminine energetic fields. And again, just for those of you who over-identify with being feminine because you're in a female body, like this is happening on the male parts side of the equation as well, because all beings have both energy systems running at all times, right? So it's coming through them too. So just be aware of that this energy is really working hard. What it's trying to do right now at this new moon is just say, hey, pay attention. Here's some ways that you may have gotten complacent with your separation or complacent with a triangle, unless everybody involved is cool, right? Like y'all are in a throuple, you're happy and thriving, everyone's above board, right? That kind of thing, hey, I've seen it work. No judgments. But where there's the shadow side of Scorpio, lies, deception, hidden things, right? When she gets opposite Uranus, who exposes things, this is going to become a problem. So I'm telling you this now so you can get in front of it in your life and really be intentional about utilizing this energy and directing it without having it direct and push you. So this is really kind of like a part 2 to last lunar update, where I really spoke to those of y'all who are in the triangles more directly. More to come on this, dot, dot, dot. But this is an emerging story as Juno begins her process of having these important conversations from her place in Scorpio, where she will be through next November. Okay. We also see her trine to Saturn here inside of Pisces. And the Nessus conjunction to Saturn amplifies Saturn's insistence on congruence, alignment, and wholeness. Now, if you're not familiar with the Saturnian narrative, just quick recap. Saturn was originally governor of order, sequences, and time until his mom needed some help because her self-created lover was hurting her, pushing their co-created babies back in. Saturn said, "Ma, what kind of help do you need?" She said, "Castrate him, cut it off." Saturn did that, and this is how we have Saturn in the zodiac known as the castrator, the separator. But when you bring in the divine feminine narrative to that, Saturn restored her ability to do what she was created to do, which was populate, give birth, create. That was what her mom did, his mom did. And so Saturn speaking to Juno in the sign of endings is really saying with Nessus here, it's like, got our fingers to the fire, like, get your wholeness back. Cut off what is not allowing you to be whole. Now, for some of this has nothing to do with people. This has a lot to do with the way you're handling scorpionic themes such as money, investments, taxes, loans, credit cards, mortgages, your inheritances, trusts, wills, right? For some of you, it's the money thing. For others, it is the physical intimacy thing. Like, you wanted so bad to be with your person, but you can't even stand to look in the mirror with the lights on. How are you going to be with somebody else, right? Like, dealing with your relationship to your own physical intimacy with yourself, right? Your own capacity to be turned on as a person with yourself and alive with yourself, right? Some of that may be the theme for some people, and still for other people, we're just talking about power in our day-to-day living and not letting the children, the parents, the coworkers, the boss, the neighbor all run our show and never use our power for ourselves to create the life we want, just yielding, yielding, yielding to anyone and everyone who happens to come along. Being that doormat, this is really going to say, cut it off, pick up your power, live your life, right? So it's going to play out in different ways for different people, but those are all the scorpionic themes that could really show themselves, especially at this new moon, now that she's starting to lock into some very important conversations as she gets into shadow about what we may need to deal with over the course of the retrograde specifically. So those are the things to look out for. And we also see she's got a square to Mars here. And so this constitutes a T-square. Let me draw it out more specifically. There's Mars opposite Pluto, covered extensively in Lightworker energy updates, and the Mars retrograde update. Here's Pluto. Here she is. Here's Mars. This may make taking the aligned action that we know we need to take, right? Like, yeah, I know I need to deal with my taxes, or I know I need to consolidate these loans. Like, my mortgage is like crazy. I have to refinance that, or I have not drawn up a will for my children, and I know I have this health issue I need to deal with. Like, let me at least be responsible about that and set up a trust for them or what have you. This whole T-square, Pluto, Mars, Juno, this could make taking the aligned action feel inconvenient, uncomfortable, it could make taking the like, it could make us pissed off that we need to take the action to begin with. Like, why can't somebody else do it? Right? Again, pay attention to where the word can't is a fear-based excuse rather than the actual truth, which is, wow, owning power this way is uncomfortable. Can I do it? Yes. Do I feel like doing it? Absolutely not. That both things can be true. Can I do it? Yes. Do I want to do it? No. Right? Feel that way about the dishes every night. I hate doing dishes. But utilizing my power to get it done makes tomorrow morning start in a more effective, efficient, grounded way. Small example, big implications. For those of you who identify yourself in some format of union, this configuration in the divine feminine energy fields is really going to present itself in two ways. One, it's going to show you where you've been operating or your partner's been operating in disempowerment or codependent power dynamics in your connection, where the two of you are trying to either solve each other's problems instead of letting the other person have their process and witnessing. That can also be equally powerful, as being a witness and just an encourager to the other person. That way they can pick up their power and they'll never put it down again if they pick it up, right? Where there has been enmeshment in your power dynamics, this is going to really show itself to be problematic during this period of time. If you identify in some format of union, outside of that, you're also going to see where there are those scorpionic themes in your individual lives that must be dealt with, right? So we're talking about physical intimacy, other people's money. We're talking about um, handling fear, shame, and rage, it could be with family, it could be with friends, it could be with your school system, whatever. Those things will show themselves at this time too. Again, if they do show up, this is really about empowerment more than anything else. So pay attention where you're using the word can't to keep yourself stuck or procrastinate. You actually can. You just may not like it. For those who identify in some format of separation, this is where you may get some very powerful psychic impressions of the transformations unfolding in your counterpart's field. Others of you may really find that your life has become such a cluster of problems that you almost feel like I have to change everything all at once in order to be able to breathe in this. If you're part of that latter group, trust your process, make the changes you can make as you can make them. Again, there is this energy of these connections trying to push through the fifth dimension, fourth dimension, and land in our third dimension. And our third dimension, like reaching through the fourth to the fifth to have all the things that are there come into union for you in the third dimension. And so all the changes you're being pushed to make now, even if you're in separation, even if there's no communication, all of this is a real function of the connection itself working overtime to nudge you, poke you, push you, prod you into having the space, the capacity, the mindset, the heart bandwidth to allow this sort of love to live in your third dimensional reality in the land of the living. But in order for that to happen, this configuration for those in that type of separation, if you feel like your life truly is falling apart, it's doing everything it can to remove that which is in the way of the unfoldment so that you have space for the unfoldment to happen. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about Jupiter now. Let's talk about the Jupiter component. Jupiter is the energy I read as divine masculine. We all have divine masculine energy inside. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so here is Jupiter retrograde there in Gemini. Jupiter was retrograde October 9th through and will remain so through February 4th of next year. And this has created an opportunity for a lot of thoughtfulness in our collective divine masculine fields. Lots of exploring different options, but the nature of this retrograde in the divine masculine fields is mostly about review, especially at this segment of the Jupiter retrograde when Mercury is retrograde in opposition. Okay. You may find, some of you, that there's some quiet that opens up in the connection, or that you're guided to review where you've been in the connection, or in particular, what you've said and what they've said, and how that's contributed to where you are now. If that's where you want to be or not, conversations may also open up that are about where you've been in the connection, where you're talking about the past together and who said what and how it was taken. And did you really mean that? Because what I heard was this, where message sent was not the message received. This is a period where you're going to have the opportunity to make some necessary corrections to your words to bring things back into alignment and wholeness in your connection, especially with the square to the Saturn conjunct Nessus. So I just spoke about this configuration, talking to the divine feminine as well. Saturn speaking to both Juno and Juno is placing a huge demand in both fields for both counterparts to cut off what is not serving the connection. Let it go, let it die, cut it off. And in some cases, Saturn is like, oh, you're not going to cut it off? That's fine. I got you. Don't worry. I'll end it for you. And some of you are seeing that now. And you may have even had intuitive insight over the course of 2024, specifically, like, if I want this union, I got to get rid of this other thing. Now, for some of you, it could be like, I don't know, negative friends, right? Or for others of you, it could be like living in the house you and your ex built together, and it always being a reminder of that relationship. So you're not like free to build a new relationship. These kinds of things can come to some sort of closure over the course of this period, with Saturn speaking to both divine counterparts, where you may not understand why. It may not feel good to have that thing get cut off or cut out of your life. But if you are identifying as a divine counterpart, I'm telling you, based on what I'm seeing, and also based on like what I've been channeling all year, those things are being removed that stand in the way of union. And so understand that this process is unfolding, and know that it is for your higher level, like your union is trying to take place here. And understand as well that you can participate in this. For those of you who are, just recognizing it, you can step in and say, okay, I already know, like, I live like a bachelorette. I'm in these streets every weekend with, different men or women all the time. I love my life, but I know if I want union, I am going to have to like maybe start to really focus on getting other people's energy out of my space. Unless that's something you and your partner are going to do together, which you can, people do, right? No judgments there. But if you're trying to make space to focus on one person, or you want one person to focus exclusively on you, this is a great time to cultivate your exclusive focus on you, and then allow that frequency to permeate your joint fields with this Saturnian energy that is saying, cut off what stands in the way. Okay. Really interesting period of time with that Saturn conjunct Nessus. I think I already mentioned that there's a lot of correction and communication that can go on now. This is a very tempering energy in our divine masculine energy fields. Some of you may really feel guided as well with Saturn in this configuration to know where you need to apologize to the other person and offer that apology. Again, you know, both people may need to apologize, but whether who goes first doesn't really matter. Like, just get it done with so you can get on to the good stuff, right? Like, don't let pride or ego be in the way of saying what you need to say to be congruent with who you want to be in connection, regardless of how they showed up, right? This will show us where our thinking has been in the way of our connections, growth, and development. And this mirroring will be especially helpful for those who identify in some sort of separation and want to end it. Now, on the other hand, in shadow, this configuration can have us feeling hopeless, powerless about connection through our divine masculine energy fields. So if you're identifying with the sense of being cut off or separated, the Virgo energy, which is the unoccupied mutable sign that you can stand in for yourself and really bring that in to balance this out, that Virgo energy and the Mercury and Jupiter retrograde, all three of these are saying, take a look at your own thoughts. Are you perpetuating your own separation with doubt, with fear, with lack of faith in possibilities? Jupiter and Gemini and shadow can compare and do a lot of like, well, I'm not as far along as they are, or I should be here, and like putting yourself down through comparison, right? Shadow side of Jupiter and Gemini, shadow side of Mercury in Sagittarius, both of them retrograde. Utilize that Virgo energy to say, now hold on a minute, let me correct my own thinking here. Let me take a look at what's actually the truth for me, right? Lots of opportunity around that. We have a loose square to Neptune in Pisces. As I mentioned, Saturn square, but so too is this Neptune. And there's Neptune speaking to Jupiter and Mercury. Opportunity for shadow or light with this. The light side of this T-square energy will give us a shot at forgiveness and release and washing the slate clean. Forgiving ourselves for things said and thought that may have undermined connection. Releasing these things in a way that truly sets the stage for a real new beginning. Forgiving the other person as well, even if they haven't apologized, just washing the slate clean so that a true new beginning can happen. If you struggle with forgiveness, there's a playlist that I started around forgiveness with some recordings and channeled messages that I have for you guys around like forgiveness and karma and the capacity that forgiveness adds to our field to allow having to happen. So strongly recommend having a listen to that if you're stuck with around that. But this is really going to give us that chance to reset connections. Like 2025 is going to be a huge connection reset year for a lot of counterparts. Ooh, I like that. Just make sure I write that down so I can put it in the channeled messages that way. Okay, we do see a trine for Jupiter from Vesta and Lilith here in Libra. This is providing a lot of clarity in the divine masculine fields about knowing what we want, what we don't want. And it's also letting us know, like, hey, even if you're not able or see the pathway yet, because you're always able, you just may not see the pathway of how to get to what you want. This is giving the clarity for it to be there. We do see this trine from Chericlo there in Aquarius. So there is divine blessing in a sense that our divine teams are standing by to assist us with our requests. Put some requests out there, like talk to your angels, your ancestors, your guides, whomever you speak to, whom you know is helping you on your journey. Holy Spirit, talk to them. They're listening. Because they respect your sovereignty, they will not intrude. Only forces of darkness cajole and intrude. The forces of light will wait for your invitation because they recognize your power as a divine creator being incarnate and they want you to use it. So ask. Use your power to ask if you're stuck. Show me how I can do this. Show me what can be better. Show me where is the pathway? Where is the on ramp? And the way they communicate with you, they'll show you. It could be clairaudience, it could be signs, it could be messages through music, but pay attention because they will talk back. Okay. We covered Mercury opposite Jupiter pretty well already, and pretty extensively, so I won't belabor that. We also have Chiron speaking in sextile to Jupiter, and this is going to help us heal the mind, heal our thoughts, and heal a lot of communication issues where they have shown up. Lots of opportunity to take initiative through our divine masculine energy fields to clean up communication. I've seen a lot of my clients do this with great success at this time. So if you want to step into it, the energy is available. Definitely do it. And I will also say, if you need any support with this, the relationship readings are available until we close out the post-eclipse window. The post-eclipse window, we had a very relationship-focused eclipse in Libra on September 17th. Post-eclipse window goes 90 days after, so we're talking about October 17th to November 17th to December 17th, right? So at that point is when I was guided to close relationship readings again. So if you want a synastry reading, you want 30 minutes or 60 minutes, you want to see your counterpart's chart, your chart, you want to understand some things, book it. I strongly recommend it. Can be very helpful. And if you and your counterpart want to come as a couple, the 90-minute reading is the one to do that in so that I have enough time to speak to both of you and we're not rushed. But if it's just you and you're just trying to understand and find your space in your connection, now's the time to get grounded in your narrative for your connection so that you can be a part of this rebirth energy that's trying to show itself in 2025 as part of this connection reset. All right. Link to book is below this video. You want to wait. I think it's December 13th is the day that the 1 hour, 30% off relationship readings will be available. Feel free to wait if you want, but on the 17th, I believe, if I'm calculating my 90 days out from the eclipse correctly, on the 17th is when relationship readings will close. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you being here. All your likes, subscribes, and shares in the comment section and with friends and family. For folks who feel like me need it, it's an honor to be able to do this with you. Channeled messages for the collective for 2025 have already been coming in and are on the way. I'm capturing them as we go so I can put them all together as a video for y'all. I love you guys. This is a lot of fun. Thanks for being here and take great care. Bye for now.